I have been a fan of Best Places. I moved because of Best Places. I live in Florida because of Best Places. Like I did a lot of research with you guys, and yeah, I went to a million websites. I went to Weather Spark, Best Places, current results. I went to so many places looking up like median income and um, weather and crime and housing. I mean, I did so much research. All my friends thought I was just like super dork, but I'm like, no, I need to know everything before I move. I want to know what the average temperature is in fall. I need to know these things. I need to know the comfort index, and the one I use the most was your guys' heat index. I love your heat index. I looked at that thing over and over again. I'm like, do I want to be the fifth hottest city in America or the 16th hottest city in America? Or, I loved it. I think I literally have the Bert Sperling's heat index on a bookmark on my computer because I would just go back to it over and over again and go, how hot is it in Orlando? Ooh, that's hot. Like
Mhm.
it was I know I have it on here somewhere. But yeah, and I think it's even on my phone, on my iPhone. I'm like, okay, what is the heat index? Oh, okay. Can I deal with that? 93 degrees in the summer? Ooh, I don't know if I can handle that. So can you
Mhm.
tell I'm excited to talk to you? I'm really excited to talk to you.
Yeah, it's great. I love this
I've been wanting
energy.
to do this. I've been wanting to do this for like so long. When I even saw that you guys were doing when you were just doing like not podcast, when you were doing YouTube, I'm like, oh my gosh, those are the people. This is like who I've been tracking forever. Are you familiar with the findyourspot.com website?
No, I haven't heard of it.
That was the first like relocation website I found. It was two guys out of Longmont, Colorado, and they would have 100-question test that would ask you about your political affiliation, religious affiliation, how many people in your family, how much money do you make, how much can you spend on rent, how much house can you buy, do you belong to like uh, um, do you belong to like veterans, VFW, or Shriners or anything like that? And you filled out this whole thing. And at the end, they gave you 20 results of the best places for you to live based on the test. And my number one spot was Virginia Beach, Virginia. And I was floored. I was living in Colorado. I'm like, Virginia Beach, Virginia, what is this? Like I was just I never even had heard of Virginia Beach, but then I read about it and it was very close to what I liked. Like the summers weren't too hot, the winters weren't too cold, it didn't really snow there. Summers only get up to like 85, and like I can play tennis and I can go swimming for most of the year. And it was right near the ocean. I would have a beach within like 10 or 15 minutes. And I thought, wow, this really is what I was looking for. And, here I am like 15 years later. I still didn't move there. I ended up moving to Florida, but I loved the test. And I did the same thing with your guys' website too. I went in there and I would do the compare feature all the time, and this city versus this city. And if you make this much money in this state or this city, then how much more money do you? I mean, I did it all. I did it all. I'm a super duper nerd geek, relocation statistician guy. Like call me whatever you want. I feel like I'm with like-minded individuals though.
Yeah, I
What is your,
definitely fit in here.
what does your
Oh,
shirt say?
this is the college I go to, Portland State University, PSU.
Cool. I love
Mhm.
Portland.
Mhm.
Love Portland. I've been there for work. I work in insurance industry. So in insurance industry, you have to know a lot of statistics. You need to know a lot of weather patterns and stuff like that. And I went to Portland. I've been there twice for work. Love it. Went to the Rose Garden, went to Multnomah Falls, hiked the falls, went to Cannon Beach. Matter of fact, my Facebook photo, the background, like not the photo, but the one that you can put behind it on Facebook,
Mhm.
is me at Cannon Beach jumping up in the air because I'm a goonie. I'm a goonie for life. I'm a goonie lifer, and I loved going to Cannon Beach and seeing where they filmed the movie. I'm 44, grew up in the 80s, love all the dorky 80s movies and stuff, and love it.
Yeah, cute. Cannon Beach is great. I have a magnet of Haystack Rock like right here.
There you go. All right. And I'm jumping in front of Haystack Rock. That's what
Hmm.
I am. The little guy, and then the real big guy, and then the other little guy, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I could probably talk your ear off. You haven't even asked me a question yet. Do you want me to keep going? I can
I
just
know,
keep
right?
going.
Well, we can kick it off officially if you're ready.
Okay. Yes, I am. Sorry.
Great. No worries. This is
But
great.
you want all this energy, right? I shouldn't bottle it up. This is what you want, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All
Uh,
right.
to get us started, do you want to tell us your name and talk about where you're currently living?
Yes, my name is Matt Hickman, and I currently live in Minneola, Florida, just 30 minutes outside of Orlando.
All righty. What about your experience in Mineola made you want to reach out to us for this interview?
Wow, I could say so much to that. You don't even know. So about 15 years, no, I think it even goes back like 18 years ago, I was in college and I was not happy with where I was living. I wasn't really, I was very unsure about my major. I was really unsure about almost everything in my life, really, like everything. And I thought, I need help. So I went online and I started Googling and I found your website and I ate it up. It was music to my ears. I wanted to know temperature of places and median incomes of places and homes of places and crime. I ate up the statistics like candy, like a kid on Halloween night eating candy. I loved going to a place where I could, look and see like what is the average temperature in the summertime and what can I afford and what's available and the commute times, everything. I ate it up and I was living in Utah, very unhappy living in Utah, kind of against my will, kind of ended up there just because of college, but it just wasn't what I wanted. And so 18 years ago, I started the search for like the perfect place, my perfect place. And everybody, I had hundreds of naysayers over the years tell me, Matt, there is no perfect place. Give up. You're never going to find it. You're never going to be happy. You're just going to be a miserable guy for the rest of your life. And I said, no, I believe. I have faith. I believe I will find my perfect place. And I told people, I don't need it to be perfect. I just need it to be perfect for me. And fast forward 10 years later, I'm still not happy. I now have a job. I'm out of college. I have a job. I'm married. I have kids, and I'm still telling my wife, I'm living in Colorado at the time, and I tell her, I hate the winters here. The winters go from mid-October to mid-May. It can snow, it can be cold. Yes, people say, oh, but Colorado's so beautiful. It is. It is a beautiful state. It does have a lot to offer. It just didn't have what I wanted, you know? And there's a lot of good things to say about Colorado, but I'm not a skier. Summer is my favorite time of year. I like to be in the water. I like to swim. I like to boat. I like to kayak. I am a water person. And I kept telling my wife, I said, we can't stay here forever. She says, that's fine. She's like, I'd love to leave Colorado too and go and see more of the country and stuff. I said, oh, this is great. Probably one of the reasons we got married was I met her and I said, I don't want to live in Colorado forever. Is that okay with you? And she said, neither do I. I said, hey, perfect. Let's get married. So here we are, probably about 10 years ago, and we're looking, and I'm going online. I'm doing all this research, and again, weather patterns. I was looking up frost patterns. That's how much of a dork I was. I was going to farmers' almanacs and looking up frost patterns. When's the first frost? When's the last frost? How much rain? How much average sunshine? And I'm going all over the place. And I loved your website. It was always so helpful. And let's see. So that was like 10 years ago. Then 5 years ago, we got real serious. My wife was very hesitant to leave Colorado because of her mother and her mother's health. Her mother got breast cancer. And so that was a big unknown. And my wife just told me, she said, I can't leave my mom in this vulnerable state. I need to know that my mother's okay. And I honored that, of course. I totally understood, honored that. And so we waited a little bit longer. But then I said, hey, let's do this. About twice a year, every 6 months, we are going to travel someplace based on my analysis, my research. We're going to go to a place and we're going to just spend 3 days there. 3 days, and what we'll do is we'll just stay at a cheap hotel. We'll just find like a Comfort Inn or something like that, where we'll like $100 hotel, and we will just get a rental car, the tiniest little cheapest rental car we can get, and we'll just drive. We'll go to the downtown area. We'll go to the most prominent suburbs. Well, and that way we'll see everything in between, and we'll be on the roads, and we'll be on the streets, and we'll be able to see what are the restaurants and the stores in town and everything. And we did it. We did it. We saved up the money, and every 6 months we would take these 3-day excursions, and I drew a line. I looked at the map. I looked at the map of the United States and I drew a line at one of the latitudes, like the state line of Arizona and New Mexico, and I drew a line right there and I said, I will live south of this line. This is what I wanted. And we started with the West Coast and we literally slowly just swept across the entire country. So we went to Southern California first, and we had to go way inland because we could only afford about $350,000 for a house. So we had to start there, and we looked like almost 2 hours from the beach, and we were in the middle of the desert. And we arrived, and we meet with this realtor. We're like, "Hey, we're here looking to see if we can live here, and can you show us some houses?" And he shows us, and we're in the middle of the desert, and we're looking around, going, "This is not the Southern California that we had in our mind." Like it was brown and ugly. There wasn't grass anywhere. There was maybe, some sad-looking palm trees, and that's it. And we just said, "Okay, we can't do this. We can't do this." So we scratched that off the list. Then my wife went to a reunion in Tucson, Arizona, and she went there and she said, "I'm not doing Arizona. I don't like the desert. We're not doing Arizona." Okay, honey. Okay, okay, okay. So then we looked. New Mexico, I'd already been there. Albuquerque is almost as cold as Denver. Maybe 1 month is a little bit warmer. And again, I could use your website to determine that. I can see all the averages, right, for everything. And so I knew Albuquerque would like only get me 1 more month of warmth. And I literally did this. Okay. I said, I looked at the calendar. I said, I am happy in Colorado 4 months out of the year. I'm happy from June to September. And that is it. 4 months. The other 8 months out of the year, I am not happy. If I can, if in a perfect world, I would be happy 12 months out of the year. But if I could even be happy 8 months out of the year where the temperature is above 60 degrees, I will consider that a win. Okay. Do you see how neurotic I am? This is my thought process. So we wrote that off. So then we looked at Texas, and my brother lived in Texas, and I had friends living in Texas, like friends from high school and friends from college. And so I had friends in Dallas and Austin. So I said, "Oh, let's go check it out." We go to Dallas, we drive all around. We saw a lot of different places. We actually were really close to considering it. It would have been good for my job. My job at Dallas is centrally located, which is good for me because I was traveling at the time for work. And it was actually looking like, hey, this might work. Frisco, whatever. We liked Frisco, some of the suburbs. We also went to Austin. Austin was a lot more expensive, as you probably know already, right? And we went to San Antonio, and I took my wife down to the Riverwalk. I love the Riverwalk in San Antonio. Have you ever been?
No.
Beautiful, beautiful. Just look up the pictures of the Riverwalk. It's a beautiful area. You're walking along this beautiful canal that's lined with shops and restaurants, and it's got a great kind of party atmosphere, kind of a New Orleans kind of, French Quarter atmosphere. Beautiful South American, Mexican architecture, really nice. And we did all that, and we were caught up in the moment. But at the end, though, my wife's like, she just wasn't sure. She's like, "I'm just not sold." So, okay, well, let's keep going. We skipped Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi. I wasn't interested in any of those states. I didn't want to go there. Statistics wise, they were not good statistics wise. So we ended up now at Atlanta. Okay, here we are. We swept across. So now we're in Atlanta. I talked to a couple people. I had coworkers that had lived in Atlanta. They said very nice things about Atlanta. They said it was very multicultural. There was a lot of good restaurants. I knew that it was affordable. And so we did. We flew out to Atlanta for 3 days, and we were stuck in traffic for 3 days. That was our 3 days in Atlanta, stuck in traffic, and the trees were so tall you couldn't see anything. And of course, we're both from the West, Colorado. You can see views, and in California and Arizona and even Texas, you can see for miles and miles and miles. And here we were in Atlanta, and we were driving down the highways like this, and we're like, I can't see anything. Where is everything? Where's the downtown? Where's the stores? Where's the restaurants? We couldn't see anything, and it was very claustrophobic, and the traffic was horrible. And Seinfeld had a skit about Atlanta. He said, Atlanta is nothing but traffic and trees. And boy, he was absolutely right. That is exactly our first impression of Atlanta: traffic and trees. So we quickly said, nope, not doing that. Okay, what's next? And North Carolina. So we had gone to Raleigh because my sister lived in Raleigh, and we visited, and we're not impressed. And I know people say wonderful, amazing things about Raleigh. And if you're a statistician, you're looking at all the stats, everybody says that Raleigh's great, but we kind of felt the same way in Atlanta. Lots of trees. Where's the views? Didn't like that. So we wrote Raleigh off. Then we went to Charlotte. and again, use the website, use your website and many other websites to determine all of the stats, the weather and everything. And Charlotte looked amazing on paper. The median income was great, the housing was great, and the weather was great. Like winters were in the like high 50s in the winter, and the summers were like 89 degrees, and even the humidity wasn't too bad. I was able to look at the humidity and look at your guys' heat index and everything, and figure out that it was not sweaty there all the time. The humidity was bearable. So we did go to Charlotte, and we actually loved it. We really, really, really loved Charlotte, and we really thought about moving there. There was just one thing, and that was is that we were both big. I love theme parks. I grew up in Los Angeles. I love theme parks. I used to go to Disneyland and Magic Mountain all the time. By the way, you probably edit this out, but can I say all these things, or do you have to like remove them because it's like
No, we'll keep them in.
we can say Disneyland? Okay, I just you're like no, like copyrights or something like that. Okay, so um, so we were going to Florida. In between some of these visits, we were going to Florida to go to Disney World. And I have a brother-in-law that's down here. He lives an hour from Disney World. So we would fly down here, stay with him for cheap. And then he lives an hour from Disney World, and we would go to Disney World for a day or two, and then we would fly home. So that was happening in between all of these visits. And we'd kind of say like, well, it would be fun to live in Florida, but it's so hot. It's more hot than, like going from Colorado, one of the coldest states, moving to Florida would just be like lunacy, right? I mean, just what kind of lunatic would do that? And but we kept it in the back of our mind. And then we liked Charlotte, and then we're like, okay, Charlotte or Orlando. And so we had eliminated everything, right? We had told you I'd gone through all the Southwest, we had gone through Texas, we had gone through Atlanta and the Carolinas and everything. And we love South Carolina, Charleston. Remember, I told you I'd taken that original test, and Virginia Beach and Charleston, South Carolina were like my top two places, right? Because I love the ocean, love warm weather, love palm trees, love tropical geography and stuff like that. And so we had it narrowed down, Charlotte or Orlando. And we went to Orlando several times, different parts of the year. We were there in like the winter, and then we went one time in May. And in May, it was so unbearably hot. We were at Legoland in May, and I remember turning to my wife, sweat just dripping down my face. And we're waiting in line at Legoland to go on this like boat ride for my 4-year-old, and I'm just sweating. I'm going, if this is how hot and miserable this is in May, I am never living here through the summer, ever. I'm never going to make it. So we kind of wrote off Orlando. We're just like, no. So we said, okay, we're going to do Charlotte. This was like maybe 3 years ago. Okay, Charlotte it is. And so I kept going online, and I was Googling, okay, Charlotte. I drive down to Orlando. It's 8-hour drive. Okay, 8 hours. All right. Charlotte to Charleston, South Carolina. Okay, 3 hours. All right. Charlotte to Wilmington, North Carolina. If I need to get my beach fix, how long is it going to take? Okay, 3.5 hours. All right. If I want to get my mountain fix, I want to go up to Asheville. How long is it going to take to get up to Asheville? Okay, it's 2 hours. I think, okay, this is pretty good. And so 3 years ago, I know this is a long story, but hey, I wanted to give you the whole thing, and you're a sport for sticking through this. I want
This
you
is
to know I
great.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I've watched you interview other people, and I love your laugh and your smile. Um, so one day I'm talking to my wife, and I was like, okay, if we move to Charlotte, it's 3 hours to the beach, Charleston, South Carolina. We both love Charleston, the beauty and the historic charm and everything like that. And I was like, and if we want to go up into the mountains and get our mountain fix so that we're not completely leaving Colorado, we'll see these beautiful, Blue Ridge, Smoky Mountains, Mount Mitchell, and all those places, Asheville. 2 hours from there, and it's 8 hours to Orlando, where we can get our amusement park fix. And we're still not convinced, and we're still just sitting there, and it was like night after night, we might be laying in bed just talking and daydreaming, and what should we do? What should we do? And my wife goes, instead of driving to Orlando 8 hours with the kids in the car, why don't we just move there? And I'm like, but you know how hot it is. And so one last time we go down, I think it was May, because my wife's birthday is right around Memorial Day. And so that was a great way to go on vacation and whatnot. So we go down to Orlando, And we're there in May, and it's hot, but we're in the pool and we're having fun, so we don't care, right? And so we drive all over Orlando. We look at all the suburbs, and again, using your website, referencing some of the suburbs, some of the safer places, good schools. We were told down here. Oh, I hope my son doesn't interrupt us. He's knocking on the door. He's 3. We go to places like Lake Mary, Florida, Altamont Springs, Winter Park, Florida, Oviedo, Florida, Winter Garden. We're going to all these places, and we're driving around, spending a lot of time, eating. We'd go into a grocery store. I just walk into a grocery store just to see, like, what do the people look like? Do the people look friendly? Are these going to be my neighbors? Are these the kind of people that, you know? And we drive through neighborhoods. We go and we use Trulia or Zillow to see what a $350,000 house looked like, and we would just drive to one. If we liked the picture, we'd say, "Let's go there," and we would just drive, and it just gave us an opportunity to soak everything in. And we'd go and we'd look at the house, and then we'd look at the neighborhood and say, "Is this the kind of place we want to live?" We had 2 completely unsuccessful trips to Orlando, completely unsuccessful. We both left, and I remember just feeling like I feel sick inside, like my gut is upset, like something's wrong, like we're just not finding it. And lo and behold, um, I come back after my second unsuccessful trip to Orlando. I'm totally sad. And I talked to a coworker. He's like, "Hey, how'd the trip go to Orlando? Did you find where you want to live?" I said, "No, I haven't found it yet. I can't believe it. I've been looking for like 20 years. I've been looking for where I want to live." And he goes, "Well, you know what?" He goes, "My son lives in Claremont, Florida. And if I was going to move to Florida, I would move to Claremont." And I'm like, "Claremont? What is Claremont? I've never even heard of this place." So I open up Google Maps and I look it up, and I look at Claremont, and it's like 10 minutes past Winter Garden, which is where we had looked. That was the furthest west we had gone, was Winter Garden. And I see that Claremont's like the next town over on the same highway. And I go, "Okay, all right. I got one more trip in me. I can do this. I'm gonna do it." So I call my wife. I say, "Honey, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go back to Orlando in August when it is the hottest it's ever is, and we're gonna go to this Claremont town, and we're gonna check it out." And it was like June. I'm like, "We're gonna do it. 3 days, okay? Let's go." And so 2 months later, we're flying. We get down here. We stay somewhere near the theme parks. And we get up in the morning, and here we are. We're going to Claremont. We get in the little minivan we rented. We got all the kids. We even brought our mother-in-law, because now our mother-in-law has decided she's going to move with us wherever we go. She was cleared of the breast cancer. Hallelujah. And we're going to go and we're going to do this. So we drive up the turnpike, and we see the sign for Claremont, and we pull off, and we're driving along, and all of a sudden we're seeing new and clean, and we see the sign, "Claremont welcomes you." And all of a sudden you think of Florida as being totally flat. We drive into Claremont, though, and all of a sudden we're going over these beautiful rolling hills, and we're like, I don't know there was rolling hills in Florida. And everything is just had been built in the last 20 years. Everything looked very new. It was very well taken care of. There was clearly a lot of pride and attention to the way that they were developing things. The roads were very, very wide, which was one thing that I was always looking for. Is we had come from an area where they weren't keeping up with the roads, and so there was a lot of traffic. Even though it was a small town, there was only like 4 lanes for 100,000 people, and it was just very congested. And I saw that there was 6 lanes, and everything was new. And we go, and everything we see, we love. I see a bike lane on the side, and people are zipping up and down, and they're bicycling, and that immediately was like, oh, I was so excited. I saw they had a Five Guys burgers and fries, and I'm super excited about that. And they had all of our favorite restaurants. My wife loves Texas Roadhouse. I take her to Texas Roadhouse every year for her birthday. They have Carrabba's, my favorite place to eat. Love Carrabba's. And we go in, and we see that the houses are affordable, and then we see that they have these 3 beautiful lakes, and the town is built in between these beautiful lakes. They're about 2 miles across, and people live on the lake. They live between the lakes. The hills are rolling in between the lakes. And we just go, "Oh my gosh, this is gorgeous." And we go right to downtown, and I love old quaint downtowns. We drive right to downtown, and it's 5 blocks of all these cute little boutique stores, nail salons, antique stores, and it's 2 blocks from this beautiful lake. and we drive down the hill to the lake, and they have this waterfront park. There's playgrounds for the kids. There was splash pads for the kids. The bike trail and the walking trail went right along the lake, and they had this beautiful manicured like sand beach right there with palm trees and everything. And I mean, who needs to go to the ocean? We had this beautiful, beach like right here on this lake. And I look at my wife, my wife's looking at me. I'm looking at my mother-in-law's looking at me, and we're going, this is beautiful. Why haven't we seen this place before? Why haven't we heard of this place before? And we all said, this is the place. This is the place. We all knew it in our gut and in our mind. We all knew this was the place. And so we went home from that trip. We told everybody, we are moving to Claremont, Florida. People said, why? I said, it is 40 minutes from the airport. It's an hour from the beach. It's 40 minutes from SeaWorld and Universal and Disney. And it's an hour from NASA. And it's 2 hours from the Gulf. And we can go to all these places. It's beautiful. There's lots of water. I can do all my swimming and kayaking and bicycling because of the bike trail. There's 50 miles of bike trail here. It just ticked off everything. I can play tennis when I want. And we got serious, and I think we got back in August. We put the house on the market around Thanksgiving, and then we were going into winter. Everybody said, "What are you doing? Wait till summer. Everybody knows that summer is the good time to sell. What are you doing?" And we said, "No, we are so desperate to get out of here. We want to leave before the Colorado winter starts. We want to get out of here." And sure enough, well, actually, no, it took us forever because this is what happened. Our house in Colorado, we sold it, and we had these beautiful views. We had uninterrupted views of the Rocky Mountains. And then a developer bought the land in November when we listed the house, and they started building right behind us. And they started putting up houses literally right in front of the mountains. And so we had viewings. And of course, our pictures were taken before the construction began. We didn't intend to mislead anybody, but our pictures were taken before, and we had all these beautiful pictures out off our deck of all you could see for miles and miles and miles the mountains. And people were showing up, and they were seeing that they were putting foundations behind our house, and people were saying, I don't want to buy, I don't want to buy, I don't want to buy, I don't want to buy. You're losing your views, losing your views. And so week after week after week, my mother-in-law and my wife, I was gone at work, and they would prepare the house, and they would get it ready, and people would come and they would say, no, you're losing your views, we don't want the house. And so we went from November, nobody interested, December, nobody interested, January, February, and finally in March, people came, and they didn't want the house for the mountain views. They wanted the house because it was a ranch, and they had a mother who was in a wheelchair, and they needed a ranch. And we finally had someone that wanted the house for the house and not the views. So by March, we were under contract, and by April, we were leaving and driving down here. Now, this is really interesting. I don't know how much of this you need, and you can edit out whatever you want, but we were under contract in Claremont. In Claremont, we found a house with beautiful views of the rolling hills and everything in the area. We were under contract. We come down here, and we're supposed to close the next day. And we find out that the people selling our house were going through a divorce, and there was a lien on the house. And they couldn't sell it to us because there was a lawyer involved. And we get here, and we found out the very next day that we couldn't live in this house because there was a lien, and they had to work it out, and they didn't even know how much money they owed the lawyer. And we couldn't move into the house. And so here we are, we're day 2 in the hotel, and we're calling our realtor saying, can we close today? No, they still need to figure out how much money they owe the lawyer. So we're day 3, and this is during the pandemic. This is April of 2020, like the pandemic. We're like 30 days in the pandemic. We even got turned away by hotels that said, we cannot take you because you're not medical staff. We're only accepting medical staff right now, and we can only book one floor or every other room. We can't have, social distancing and everything. And we had to beg. I'm like, please, please. It was 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm trying to get a hotel that will take me, my dog, my mother-in-law, my wife, and my 3 kids to let us like stay in there. It was bad. So 3 days go by, we still haven't closed on the house. And I told the realtor, I said, look, I got a situation here. I'm renting 2 rooms at this hotel. My wife is going to go crazy. We're a dog and a mother-in-law and 3 kids in these hotel rooms. I got to find something. He's like, you're right. It's time we start looking at our backup plan. So we We start looking, and there's only 10 houses. Remember, this is the pandemic and it's April. There's only 10 houses that fit our criteria. I need a mother-in-law suite on the main floor because she can't go up and downstairs. I need a big enough house for 3 kids, and I need a big enough house where I can work from home. So we need a 5-bedroom, 4-bath house with a mother-in-law suite on the main floor, and there's only 10 houses in the entire town that are for sale. Okay?
Wow.
Yeah. Is this the longest story you ever even asked for? You're probably like, oh my gosh, why did I interview this guy? But I really appreciate your time. So we go out and he shows that these are the 10 houses. They fit your description. They got mother-in-law suites on the main floor, and they have enough bedrooms and bathrooms for your kids and you to work from home and everything. Okay, great. We look at all of them. There's this one house that we absolutely hated. It was dark. It was brown. It was like the trees were overgrown. We're like, okay, we don't want that one. He's like, fine. And so we go look at the other 9. We look at the first one, and my mother-in-law goes, the mother-in-law suite's too small. It's only like 10 by 10, and the bathroom is the public bathroom. It's the only bathroom on the main floor, so everybody's going to be using her bathroom. And so she said, no, we don't like it. Okay, we go to the next one. The next one was too far out of town. Okay, we don't like that one. Third, fourth, fifth one we go, and my wife and I go, hey, this is great. I'm good. My wife and my mother-in-law go, no, the layout isn't right, and the mother-in-law suite is too small, and it's not right because my mother-in-law also works from home. She works from a computer and she works from home. So it had to be right. So we go 6th house, 7th house, 8th house, 9th house. They all go. And then my realtor says the only one's left is the one that you didn't like. I said, we don't want to see it. I don't want to see that brown, dark house with the horrible landscaping. I don't want to see it. He says, listen, I've been to the house. It's the floor plan you need. Even if you don't like the house, it's the floor plan you need. And it was in Minneola. I didn't know what Minneola was. We wanted to live in Claremont. I don't. What is Minneola? Minneola is that other town, and it wasn't. Minneola is just on the other side of the lake of Claremont. That's really all it is. So we drive, and now we're going further north than we even thought we were looking, but it's only 5 minutes north. It's not a big deal, right? But we're going to Minneola, and we drive up, and sure enough, I'm looking at this house, and I'm saying, yeah, I hate it. It's ugly. It had no palm trees. It had nothing tropical about it. It looked like I lived in Texas. All it had was oak trees. And I said, this could be in Austin. This could be where my brother lives. I moved to Florida. I want palm trees. I want hibiscus flowers. I want beauty. And this is the most boring landscaping, and they painted the entire house brown. They didn't even have an accent color. That's how bad it was. So we go inside though, and we're walking around. I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, the whole house is dark. It doesn't have a whole lot of natural light. And my mother-in-law goes straight to the mother-in-law suite, and the mother-in-law suite is twice as big as any of the other mother-in-law suites we had seen all day. It was 16 by 16. She had her own bathroom inside the mother-in-law suite. She had her own door that went to the backyard. She's loving it. My wife walks into our master bedroom, which is also on the main floor, and it's huge. It's bigger than anything we had seen. We had a dining room and a living room and a family room, which not all the houses had. And then there was a huge bonus room upstairs where my 2 boys could have a bedroom, and they had their own bathroom as well in their bedroom. So it was like the house had 3 master bedrooms. And my wife turns to me, she goes, look, I don't like all the natural light, and I hate the landscaping, and I hate that the whole house is painted brown on the outside, but this is the floor plan we want. So we bought the house. We canceled the contract on the other one. We bought the house, and they promised us that we would close in 10 days. So we had already been in the hotel for 4, and they promised us, you will close in 10 days. And there was a lot of, this is when people were dropping like flies because of COVID. It was kind of scary times. But sure enough, we closed in 10 days. We moved in the house, and I went and bought like 12 palm trees and got them all planted. We bought a bunch of hibiscus flowers. So it looks like we're living in Hawaii. And we immediately did that. We cut back the trees, all the oak trees. We cut them all back, and so they weren't overgrown and everything. And we went to work, and now the house is beautiful, and we love it. And Mineola is very, very charming, and we don't really ever have bad traffic. And it turns out we actually do love it here. And my kids got accepted to the charter school, and they love it, so they're happy, and I'm happy. I have my office is where I work. My mother-in-law is happy. She loves her mother-in-law suite. And we owe it all to your website, of course. Ta-da, there's your pitch.
Excellent. That was a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing.
And you stayed awake the entire time. That's the better part.
No, it was great. You're a very gripping storyteller.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. I wanted to be an actor, but that didn't pan out. So now I work in insurance, because that's the natural process of where people go.
Yeah. All
So what
right.
else would you like to know? I can tell you more about the town or all the places we looked at. I'd be happy to tell you. And I did tell you I've lived in California, Utah, Colorado, and Florida. And I'd actually be happy to tell you about any of them where I've lived, but it's up to you. Your choice,
Yeah. Well, I think that
Alex.
story was great for now at least. I unfortunately have another meeting at 3.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have to scoot. But
Yeah.
if you wanted to talk about your other stuff, we can always schedule another interview in the future so you can
Would
talk
love
more
to.
about,
You can tell I love to talk.
Yeah, but this was a super great story. I definitely think this will be a good addition to our archives. Thank you so much
Wonderful.
for sharing. It was great to meet you.
Wonderful to meet you. Thank you so
Mhm.
much.
Yeah, have a great rest of your day.
Okay. Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.